Topping today's news, gun violence continues to rear its ugly head here in the capital. Another multi-million-dollar investment project for the Exumas, the opposition calling for the education minister to resign from cabinet, and the Nassau cruise port nearing completion. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. A bloody weekend, and police detectives have launched investigations into 3 separate homicides here in the capital. Officers from the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, along with commanding officers in the areas these murders took place on the weekend, and the media visited all 3 murder scenes today, including Faith Avenue South, Montel Heights, and Nassau Village. Head of CID, Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson, speaking with reporters while in Nassau Village, says police believe the 3 murders are connected and investigating officers are following significant leads.
We have made significant progress in this investigation and the other 2 investigations, and we're looking at the nexus between all 3 of the matters. It is very promising, and I'm sure at the end of the week we should be able to have a suspect named and possibly with the purpose of taking that file to be taken to the DPP.
3 men lost their lives on Saturday in less than 24 hours. Police were called to the first sometime around 4 a.m. in an area off Faith Avenue South, where the charred remains of a man was found on a dirt road in the area of Bonefish Pond. Police Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Skippings told reporters on the scene that the man's body was burnt beyond recognition. He also had gunshot injuries and lacerations about the body. Fast forward to Saturday evening, sometime around 9 p.m. Police were alerted via its ShotSpotter technology to simultaneous shootings in both Montel Heights and Nassau Village areas.
4 a.m., a resident of this area was on her way to a local laundromat when she observed the body of a male lying through this track road. The police were summoned. When we arrived on the scene, we observed the body of a male again, who was burned beyond.
In the incident here at Sampson Street, information received is that 2 males were outside a residence on Sampson Street. One of the males was seated on a motorcycle. It is reported that a male emerged from the southern portion of Sampson Street, approached the victim who was seated on the motorcycle, opened fire on him, shooting him multiple. The incident at Acre Close, information is that 2 males were standing on the outside of a residence at Acre Close when 2 males, both of whom were armed with handguns, emerged from a track road just off the east-west highway. The 2 suspects approached the 2 males, opened fire on them. Both males were shot multiple times. One of the males, who's believed to be in his late teens, succumbed to his injuries.
As for attempts to bring some resolve to the homicide rate, Superintendent Dwight Smith, officer in charge of the Southern Division, outlined some of the key initiatives that will assist in curbing crime in those communities.
We understand the crime trends that are happening in our particular area. We know the importance of us in collaboration with the other team members in the Royal Bahamas Police Force, CDU, DU, and our CIB colleagues, and trying to gather that information. And based on that information, we were able to put out selected special patrols within the southeastern, especially the Nassau Village area, what seems to be peaking in terms of crime. Those units move about effectively, and they are on the ground actually really trying to apprehend, find out who our players are that we need to identify, and also feed information back to our colleagues who would actually need it for their food.
As officers are actively investigating these matters, police are urging members of the public who may have any information regarding these latest homicides. You can anonymously contact the Criminal Investigation Department at 328-TIPS. That's 328-8477. Another multi-million-dollar investment for the Exumas, the government of the Bahamas signing a $550 million heads of agreement for a touristic development on Faith Cave Key, Exuma. The agreement paves the way for a new resort and marina. Finance Minister, Prime Minister Philip Davis, during the signing this morning at the office of the Prime Minister, says it is an investment that the government is enthusiastic about, and they're enthusiastically embracing this, adding that it demonstrates the efforts the government is putting to expand the diversification of tourism, the tourism product we have here in the Bahamas. We'll have more on this story in a later newscast. Education, Technical and Vocational Training Minister Glenys Hannah Martin is being accused of breaching the Cabinet's ministerial code, leaving Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard to call for her resignation. Recently, Minister Hannah Martin told reporters that she is still opposed to the Royal Caribbean International, RCI's $100 million beach club project on the western end of Paradise Island, as she did under the former Minister administration, despite the government noting earlier this month that it had granted the cruise line approval. Following the minister's comments, the official opposition leader says her personal position on the matter once again exposes the dysfunction of the Davis cabinet and violated the Westminster principle of collective responsibility. Mr. Pintard, in a statement on Sunday, highlighted a clause of the country's Manual of Cabinet and Ministry Procedure that a fundamental principle of cabinet government is unity, and if any minister is unable to support a decision taken by cabinet, that minister must resign. Mr. Pintard called out Minister Hannah Martin, noting that she loves to chide the opposition on collective responsibility, but wants to keep her job by staying in cabinet while violating the terms of her employment. Mr. Pintard says based on his handling of the Alfred Sayers and Jobeth Kobe Davis matters, Prime Minister Philip Davis does not have the courage to fire Minister Hannah Martin. Well, in response to the opposition's call for the resignation of the Education Minister, Prime Minister Philip Davis, in a statement of his own, says Minister Hannah Martin did not violate the ministerial code, as he defended the minister's comments after she said it is still a no for her when it comes to the Royal Caribbean International Paradise Island project. Prime Minister Davis says all Bahamians will have shared his experience of Minister Hannah Martin during her career in politics, as always advocating powerfully and passionately and with integrity on behalf of the Bahamian people. He said in this instance, she has behaved no differently when she reiterated her previous public expressed views regarding the pending Royal Caribbean Cruise Line application. The Prime Minister noting that the deal remains under review pending the outcome of the environmental impact assessment. Prime Minister Davis says the Education Minister continues to make an important contribution to our national development, and she has his full confidence to continue doing so. And finally, in this segment, the $300 million Nassau cruise port development is on target for its opening date, May 26. CEO of the Nassau cruise port, Mike Morris Jr., revealing that the port is 90% complete. Mr. Morris spoke with reporters on the sidelines following a tour of the port on Friday. He says the project is now in the final stages.
We're 100% on marine works, which obviously is the most important part. That's in effect the cash register for the port, because that's for the ships and the passengers. And then we are about 90% in terms of our upland works. Now, it's a partnership with our tenants, obviously, because what we're providing on the commercial areas is shell and core, and so the tenants have to do their own fit out. But everyone's walking on wall, and you guys were introduced to some of the tenant spaces and so forth, and you can see for yourselves that works are underway.
The multi-million-dollar project will function as an entertainment destination for visitors and locals. There will be a Junkanoo Museum, a 3,500-seat amphitheater, a living choral exhibit, stores, food and beverage facilities owned and operated by locals, and a modern hair braiding section. Mr. Morris says all of this makes the cruise port one of the only ports that is completely ISO certified.
You know, as a port operator, and when the minister was just speaking to the significance of the port, honestly, the easy part is the construction. And while it has been painful, but the fact is that you get through construction. The challenging part of operating a facility of this size is dealing with the operational challenges, dealing with people and so forth. And so from that perspective, we wanted to make sure we had clearly defined policies and procedures. And we also wanted to make sure that we had independent audit of those policies and procedures. And so we embarked on 5 different ISOs, everything from health and safety to event management, because obviously having this amphitheater and having all of these events, fun events that are happening, we want to make sure that they're managed appropriately and that experience is positive and that there's the health and safety element of every entertainment experience. And then maintaining our facility. You would have heard Yashanti Thompson, who's our Health and Safety and Environmental Officer, that's leading the ISO charge, talk about our control of assets and making sure our assets are maintained appropriately.
Minister of Transport and Housing Jobet Kobe Davis, who joined the tour of the facilities, which falls under her ministerial portfolio, by the way, expressed her excitement and is pleased with the development thus far, despite having a few concerns that she says she is sure will be rectified.
It's important for me to make sure that every Bahamian gets a little peace and feels a little bit of entrepreneurial joy when this port opens. Our Surrey drivers, they're so dedicated to giving that horse and carriage experience, and so I just wanted to get reassured that there are some informational guidelines for tourists that may be interested because they are going to be outside of the port. And so I wanted to make sure that information kind of leads persons if they wanted that experience, in which I was assured that it will be in place. And for the taxi drivers, I just wanted to speak more so in everyone having a piece of the pie, and so that we have a properly run and managed call-up system. And I've been assured that it is going to be in place. There's a wait-in area, and then there's a ground transportation area. There's a booth for persons to hire taxis, and those are the things that makes the process run smoother, make sure that everyone has access to being able to give tourists an experience.
Registered taxi drivers will have a $2 call-up fee each time they enter the ground transportation area to pick up passengers. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.